Hello, this is Charles. In today's tutorial, we're going to be creating this 3D projection in After Effects using the new MotionVerse Pro V2. This is the very first template for creating professional 3D projection and parallax in After Effects. And before we proceed, please subscribe to this channel so that you will get more updates whenever we release new tutorials for this great toolkit. Shall we begin? Now we're going to head to Photoshop and I'm going to show you a great tip to get you started. So we're going to create a new layer. We're going to fill it with black. So I'm going to select here background color. Alright, and I'm going to create a new layer on top. I want to show you something here. So the new MotionVerse has these great features here. We call it Symmetry Modeler. And under it we have point position and then we have chain. So when you see 1P is for 1 point and 2P is for 2 points, modeler, and then we have chain. So I'm going to use CH here for chain. Now when you see me draw an X, it's for anchor point. Alright, so now we can proceed with creating guide for our photo. So we have the photo here. So we have our camera looking this way. Alright, so we're just going to note that for beginners. So we have our camera here. And then we have our line here. Then here. Then here and up. And like that. Okay, so this is one plane. And then here on top, we're going to create a chain from that plane. So here, I'm going to put CH for chain. Now for this area here, we're going to create a point. And we're going to create a point here. So that's going to be 2P. And from that, we're going to create another point. 2 points actually here. Now we also have our line. It's going to be just one plane. Okay, just one plane. So this is it here. So we're going to use 2 points for here. We're going to use chain here. And then for the chair. So yeah, for the ground plane, we have our ground plane here. So we're going to make our anchor point to be here. That is on the right side. Okay. And now for the one here for the chair, we're going to create 1 point here. 1P for a plane. Then we're going to make it a chain, another plane here, CH, and then we're going to have another point here and build like that. Okay, so as we proceed, I'm going to show you all these things inside MotionVerse. So the reason why we're drawing these is so that you have a head start. For camera projection, you need a clean plate and extracted objects. So here we have our original photo, and here is a clean plate and the objects. And now we can head to After Effects. Double click this file to open it in After Effects. MotionVerse is compatible with After Effects CS 5.5 and above. In today's tutorial, I'm using After Effects 2020. So when you open it for the first time, you're going to receive these 2 messages. So here's the first one, click OK. And click OK. select the menu button here. If you cannot see the panel, go to Window and here Effects Control, and you will see it right here. Now we're going to go to Animation Pack. You won't see anything yet until you accept the license terms. So double click the license button here and go through the terms and then accept. We can now close this window and you will now see the packs included for MotionVerse Pro. So click enter, and here you have some of the primitive shapes here, so we can enter project. Now we can select the setup button and we can enable the grid. So you will see here guide image. It is now time for us to import our images. So drag and drop in your files folder. Compositions, click OK. And now we can go for our guide image. And we can replace it. Perfect. So now we have it here. Now MotionVerse Pro comes with MotionVerse Scale for automatically scaling the whole composition in After Effects, so you can use any photo size that you want. For instance, here I can just hide. I'm going to lock this here. I can select our setup button. I can hide it. Select Animate button here. And I'm just going to enable just the image, the guide image here. And now we can load up our script. So File, Scripts, Run Script File. Then we can load it here. So we have our MotionVerse Scale. So you can decide any size that you want. Let's say I'm going to add 500 here and 500 here, and click Scale. We can fit this here, put it to full. You can see that it has scaled the entire comp. And if we go to the home window here, everything is scaled too, including the buttons. Okay, perfect. Now we can set the value back to 920, 1080. This is a great addition that you can use MotionVerse with any image size. So I'm going to minimize this here. And if you go to Dynamic Scale, by default it's here at Fill, Default Original Size. And here we have Fit. And here you have Stretch the width. And also for the height here. Alright. So I'm just going to hide the photo. And we can go back to creating projection. And we can select the camera. Just press C. And you can toggle through the tools here for the camera, so you can hold down your shift as you zoom out. Then we're going to reposition the camera here. So if you select this setup and then go to plane, so we only have ground, right, back, and then top. Alright, so we're going to hide our left. And if you want to change the color of the grid, you can go to grid setting and you can change the color. Now you have here for camera setup, we have the anchor point. So by default the anchor point will be here in the front. front, left. Alright, so we have our plane on the right here, so we can change this to right. And then we want the anchor point to start from here, so we can move it back. Great, now we can start to align it. So right about here, we can move it. Just like so. Alright, so we have this area here. And now we can scale. Now we can scale it back. So we have our Z here. And then we can scale the X. Alright. And then let's see if we can bring this down a bit. And then we have our line here. So we don't have much of the roof, so we can just leave it that way here. So we have our ground plane here, and then we have our right. So we're good to go. We're going to hide it now. And for this tutorial, we're going to use Pro projection. The difference is, with the Pro, you can model. With the Lite, you can't. So Pro here, I'm going to enable that. I'm going to double click to open it. And now we're going to replace our main image. So the main image is going to be the plate. So we have our plate here. And we can replace that. Unlock it, and then we're going to go to our guide image here, and then we can replace with the guide. And then we can lock that too. So here for the settings, we can set the main image to 50 opacity, and then we can also make the guide visible by 50%. On top of it, we can lock these because we want to change it sometime. Alright, now I'm going to select here. We have our ground plane. I'm going to press E, and I'm going to double click MotionVerse 3D card, and I can dock it here. Now great. So I can use some colors, some guide colors, so that you will understand how it works. So I'm going to enable that. I'm going to go to Modeler here, and then I'm going to select color. Maybe I can choose red. So obviously we don't need the back side. So we're going to hide the back and the left. So we only have the ground plane and the right plane here. We need to move the anchor point. So let me show you something here. I'm going to flip this up. And from the anchor point here, it's down and in the center. You can move the position of the 3D card while maintaining the position of the anchor point. Right, left, center. And up, middle, down. But what we want is to move the position of the anchor point. So here, I can now, because I want to move the position of X and Y. So I want to move my X and Y. So I'm going to select that, retain X and Y. And now when I move this to the right, the anchor point moves. Alright? And when I move it up and down, the anchor point just moves and the position of the 3D card remains. Okay. Now you understand how it works. I'm going to disable that and then go back to transform here and then disable flip. So what you want is to move this back here and on the left. So we need the Z and X. So I'm going to select that, retain Z and X, and I'm going to select left here and then this one for up. Now we have an anchor point here. We can now scale the X and Y. So I'm going to scale it back just like so. And I'm going to scale it forward just like so. So we have a meeting point here. I think that's great. Okay. Now the next thing we are going to do is to generate the plane for the back. So the back here, we're going to use 1 point. So I'm going to duplicate our ground layer. So you have G here for ground, for top, for back, left and right. And since we're not using the left, the back and the top, we can hide them. However, you can use any 3D card when it comes to Symmetry Modeler. It doesn't matter the name. Alright? So here we have our ground here. And I'm going to generate position. 1 point position for the back. So I'm going to go to Modeler here. Point position. So you have about 40 points you can use. So here I'm going to generate position for the back here. Alright? And if we want, we can make it 2 points. I can generate another position here. Now we can duplicate the ground layer and we can unparent that because this will now serve as the parent. So we can rename this to back. We can reset this plane so that if there is any attribute used here, we can just remove it. So here on the modeler, select Symmetry Point. And we can choose the color yellow. And then you go to Symmetry here. You can now select the parent as this ground plane. Now we can go to Point and select 2 points. And for point 1, if you check here, we have point 1 and point 2. So the first point is where the anchor point is going to be. So here I'm going to select point 1 and under parent 2 for point 2 I'm going to say use parent 1 and point 2. So we have it here. Now all we need to do is to move our anchor point to the left. And now as you can see, if you go here, you can see the point 2 right here. So everything is measured from one point to the other. So perfect. Now we can select the back plane and add mask. We have our mask. I'm going to show you another method for modeling in MotionVerse. It's known as Symmetry Chain. Unlike Symmetry Point, Symmetry Chain get linked to the parent from the sides. Like so. It could be here, down, up, or left. So I'm going to duplicate the back layer. And we can delete the mask for the new layer. We don't need it. So press M here and delete the mask. So I'm going to show you something how the chain works here. I'm going to make only these two layers visible and shine the rest. So, and I'm going to disable the mask of the back. So we have our new layer selected here. Okay, then go to Modeler, Symmetry Chain, and under Symmetry here, select the back layer as the parent. And look at that, we have our chain here. And when you go on the chain, so with the values of 1, you can move the layer around on any of the sides. So you can go to anchor point here and set the anchor point to left. So what we have to do is to -1. Okay? And now we can bring it down to -1. To -1. And now we can move it also to the right. So -1 again, so it's -2, and we have our chain. With Symmetry Chain, you can create smart links that communicate with each other. Let me show you. So here, I'm going to go to my transform and rotate the Y, let's say by 45. We can do -45 so you can see it clearly. Now I can duplicate this layer, and I'm going to go to my modeler here, go to my symmetry, and then choose this as the new parent. And look at that. And if you duplicate that again, go to modeler here, and then change our parent, and you can build crazy. And if I select this here and change my rotation to 45, it moves along with it. And if I do the same with this one here and put it like 25, it moves along with it. To -25 here. Okay, so this is how the chain works. Very easy to use. So I'm taking this step by step to show you how you can build complex and professional projection in After Effects using MotionVerse. Now we can continue with our modeling. I'm going to delete these two layers here and then make it visible, the rest of the layers. So here we have the one for the back. I'm going to just add a color to it so I can see it well, clearly. So we have it here. Alright, so I'm going to rotate that. You can use these features here for rotation. So we have the back and this one here, and then we have our right, just like so. And then we have our ground here, so you can see what is going on. Okay, looking good. And then we can also mask this additional back here. So if you get this kind of error here, just move to 1 frame ahead, and MotionVerse will do the calculation and restore it back. And now we have our back. Now we're going to go to the right side and we can mask. Since this part of the roof is no longer visible, we don't need to create chain plane anymore. What we have to do now is to create 2 points. So there and also here. So select the right plane, layer here, go to Modeler, go to Point Position. We can create points. So 1 point here and another there. Now we can duplicate one of the layers. I can move it above, move it on top of our right layer here. I can just rename this, maybe like roof 1. Alright, so we have this here, and then I'm going to delete the mask. Okay, and then I can just reset this just to get rid of any settings we used before. And I can now go to Modeler here. I'm going to use Symmetry Point. Maybe change the color to purple here. Go to Symmetry, and I'm going to select the layer for the roof. That is 16 here. And then under point, we're going to select 2 points. And then for position, point 1 will be 1 here. For the parent, I'm going to say use parent 1. And then I'm going to use point 2. Alright, now we're going to go to our anchor point and bring it down to left. So it's going to go down here. So when you look, perfect. Now we can scale it out. So we're going to scale. Okay, so we have this area here. Now what we're going to do is to mask. So it is that easy to use, and now we're going to create another plane for this side here. So we're going to use 2 points too, 1 point here and 1 point there. So we're going to go to our modeler here, go to our point position, and then we can create point here, and then create another point there. Now we can duplicate this layer, and we can go to our modeler here, symmetry, and then we're going to choose this layer 16 here. Alright, and now we're going to remove the mask. We add it. Alright, it's in the right place, and we can fix our scale. So I'm just going to bring this down to 0, 80 here. Alright, now we can mask. So we can change its color, so it's easier to see. Go to change it from here, maybe put it like orange. Okay, so we have our vital areas, and now we can animate the camera. So we go to projection here. So if the setup camera is enabled, please make sure that you hide it. Okay, so just click on the visibility eyeball to hide it. Alright, and then select the animator button here, and then we can go to camera motion, and then for the zoom lens we can enter 100. So we can move down here to 6 seconds. So if you go to the motion settings, you can see the time here, 6. And motion settings, you have the interpolation here, and also you have the speed. So very handy, and everything is without keyframe. Alright, so here we have our tripod pan. We can set it to 1500. And then for the tilt, we can enter -500. And now we have our camera moving nicely. And now we can create a point here. So we select our ground plane and position point 3. We can create a point here. And now we can duplicate any of the layers. I'm going to move it at the back or behind and change the name to chair. And I'm going to delete the mask and just reset that. So I'm going to go to Modeler here. I'm going to select Symmetry Point, go to my symmetry, select the ground, 1 here, and on the point I'm going to use point 1 and position point 3, just like so. And I'm going to add guide color. So let's use like green here. I'm going to enable the FX. So we have it here. Now we're going to rotate. We're going to rotate our X by -90. Alright. So now we're going to move our anchor point to the right. Move the position to the right. Alright. So here and then I can change the Y rotation. I can put it like -90 as well. So let's check it out. Okay, it's on the floor. Yeah, so the size is too big because it's taking the size of the ground plane, so we have to reduce that. Although it doesn't matter, you can just go ahead to mask it, but I like to reduce the size. So here I can just reduce that by -120, and we can reduce it some more. We can go -260 and then -200 here. Okay. Now we're going to use chain to build the other part. So I'm going to duplicate this layer here, reset that, go to Modeler here, select my chain, select my parent, there's this layer here, and then I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use symmetry face. So I'm going to isolate this so you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to move my anchor point to the left, just like so, the left here, and then I'm going to use the select face. This is the face, right and left, so I'm going to do select face here, right, and just like so, it's there. So I can bring this down to -1, so it's like that there. and I can show the rest of the layers like that. And it's always good to use guide colors so that you can see what you're doing. Now, if you look closely, we might need to move the point a little bit. So I'm going to select our ground plane. And now see, anything I do here will affect the child. So I'm going to select this point and just move it a little bit. Now we're going to add mask to the layers. So I'll start with this one here. And now for the other layer. And if you see the arrow for the mask, just move one frame forward here. And then we can just delete this mask and then do it again. So we are done masking. And if you want to edit the mask, press M and then set to none. And press V, and you can now go ahead to edit the mask. And put it back to add. Now to build the rest, we are going to use 2 points. So there won't be much difference with this area here. So we're just going to use only one plane for that side. We don't need to build this depth area. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to create a point for this layer, and then a point, another point for this layer here. So we're going to connect the 2 points here, and the anchor point will be this one. So select this layer here, the chair 1, 2, and now we can go to our point position, and we can create a point right about here. And now we can select our chair 1 and go to our modeler here, go to our point position, and we can now create a point here. Okay, just like so. Just create a point right about here. Okay, and now we can duplicate the layer and then delete the mask here, and we can reset that. Go to modeler here and then select Symmetry Point, and then we're going to choose this layer here, which is this one. And now we can go to our point, make it 2 points, and for parent 2 we're going to select this other one here, and we can now set the position points to 1 and 1, and we can also add a color guide. We can put like maybe orange here. Alright, so we have that, but we did something wrong here. It's supposed to be above, so I'm going to select that point. It's not supposed to be down here, it's supposed to be up here. Alright, and now we can move the anchor point to the right, to the left, because it's changed, like so. And we can now rotate by 90 degrees, just like so. And if we open that up, we have our plane. So now I'm going to just scale that a little bit on this side, So we're going to go to our transform here, and then we're going to scale maybe by 10, just to have a little bit of space on that part. Okay. And the next thing we're going to create now is the back. So with this plane selected here, we're going to create 2 points. Alright, so I'm going to select this one, the plane, and then I'm going to create 1 point. Go to modeler here, position, and then I'm going to create a point here. We can also create another point here, just like so. Then duplicate, so we can reset that. Go to modeler and choose our point, symmetry here, and then we can choose the layer 24. Go to our point, type and choose 2 points, and we're going to choose point 1 and 2, and under parent we say use parent 1. So so we have it here. All right, then we can move our anchor point, and we can rotate by 65. So we're going to see that like so, and we can maybe try 45. Okay, perfect. So we have it here, and we can just show you the layer. So we have it here, and if you want, you can just go ahead to mask it out, but there is a feature here that can trace the edge and extract the chair for you without you adding additional mask to remove the areas that needs to be removed. Okay, I'm going to leave it this way because I'm going to show you how you can extract this. I'm going to make sure that everything is right size. Okay, so now we have our chair 1. You can change the color of these layers here. So I'm going to hide those planes, so we don't need them now. And now we're going to model the one at the back. So to see what I'm doing, I'm going to change the main image with the image of the chair. So I'm going to select chair 2, and I'm going to replace that. So you hold down Alt or Option key and then drag and drop. So we have it here, and I can just remove the one for the guide, and we can just use the main image. So here we can now start building. Okay, so I'm going to create another point just like we did before. So select the ground plane, now I'm going to duplicate this layer here, and then reset to remove the attributes used previously, and go to modeler here, select my chain, choose a color, and then under symmetry I'm going to choose this chair. So I have to rename these to chair 2-1, and this will be chair 2_2. So if the mask is not on the right place, you just delete the mask and uncheck and make it visible again. Now you can add the mask. Now we're going to create plane for the top. Just as we did before, we're going to create 2 points from the plane. This one here creates 1 point, another point here, and then we're going to rotate that. So select it, and I'm just going to collapse this. Alright, then we go to our modeler here, go to our point position, and we can create a point here, just like so. And we can create a point for our second layer. So we can create a point just like so here, and we can duplicate any of the layers and remove mask, and then we can go ahead to reset that. Go to modeler here, select our point, symmetry, and we're going to choose the first layer will be 24. Then our point here, 2 points. Second layer is going to be 25. So for position point 1, we're going to select 1 here. For position point 2, we're going to select 1 here. Now we can just show color. Okay, and we have that here. Now we can move our anchor point to the left. So it's rightly so. We have that here, and we can rotate that. Sorry, 90 here. All right. And as you can see, we have a gap here. So what we have to do is to change our points. So I'm going to move the points from here to there, and then I'm going to move the point from this side to here. Alright, so let's do that. We're going to select our point, and then we can put the point here. And then for this point, we can move it here. And now we can rotate the X value by 2. Awesome. We need to move the anchor points from there to this area. Alright, so there are 2 ways you can do that. You can go to modeler here. You can just go to the parent and then interchange. For the parent 2, you can interchange, and then it's going to move here. But then we have to also change our angle to -90, and then also change this one to -2. Okay, and another way to do it, it's like this. We simply change the parents. So here I can now change 25 for the parent 1, and for parent 2 I can now change 24. And then it does the same thing here. We can now change our angle to -90, -2. Just like so. Now we can go ahead to scale the Y and the X. So go to our scale here, and then we can add like 20. That's a lot. We can maybe do like 5. Perfect. And we can do like 5 here too. And perfect. So to see it clearly, we can just change the color. Something else. Alright, and we can just mask that. Now the next thing now is for this area, so we're going to create 2 points. So now what we can do is to scale. And we can just add maybe, let's try 8 here. Okay, perfect. Now we can just scale. Let's move 1 frame to make sure everything is in order here, and we can move these. We can scale that by also 2. And now we can mask. Alright, so we're done here with the second chair, and I'm just gonna change the color to maybe blue. I'm just gonna hide that, and I will change our main image back to plate. And since we are done with using the guide image, I can now change it to the original image. So I'm going to go to guide here and replace that with the original photograph. Just like so, and maybe I can reduce this down to 50. Okay. So we are now going to start adding the subject, inserting them. We have 2 layers for inserting objects. So we have the Pro one here that contains lots of great features, automations, repeater, we have group, we have parallax, and many more for cameras and all. And we also have the one that is simple. So that's what we're going to use for these objects here. They're not moving, so we can use this basic one here. So I'm going to make that visible. I'm going to go to my files, and I'll go for my tree number 1. I'm going to hold down my Alt key or Option key and then drag to replace. Alright. So I can just double click that here, and then I'm going to make sure I select my anchor point, and I'm going to move it right about here and close. Now I'm going to generate position for that. So I'm going to go to my ground plane here, and I'm going to generate position here. Position 5. So right about here. Now I will select my object layer, open that up, go to Symmetry, select Symmetry Point, select the ground layer, and from here in the point, I'm going to choose 0.5. we have our tree here, and we can just scale it a little bit. Let's try 150. Perfect. Okay, so we have our tree here. Now we're going to generate position for the one at the back as well. So we go to our ground plane, for position 6. We're going to do it this way here. I'm going to duplicate the object layer, select my tree number 2, replace that, double click, adjust the anchor point, close, and I'm going to select number 6. Right. And now we're going to go here . And now we can hide our guide and make the opacity 100, and we can just hide the side here, and we have it. Alright, and if we just go here, can see it in action. Totally awesome. Now we're going to duplicate the scene so that we can place our chairs also there. So we're going to make some copies. So right click here, and you're going to go to Review Layer Source on Project. So it's right here, and we can now duplicate, and duplicate also here. So why do we need different copies of the projection? It is because for this particular photograph, we used different kinds of plates, just like the chairs, different kinds of plates, and also the cloud. So this is the reason why we need to have duplicates and then replace the photos. For instance, here, I'm going to make the guide visible. I'm just going to hide, just going to replace this layer with the main image. Alright, so like this here now, you have the tree at the back, you have this in the front of the tree. So that would be the very first plate underneath. Alright, so let me show you. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to hide some of the objects. Actually, I'm going to hide this one here in the front, and I'm going to hide the one for the girl. We can now close this. And the next thing to do is to place our chair and to add this tree. So we have this duplicate here. Now replace it, and we can open the comp. So right here, I'm going to hide all these layers. I'm going to hide this as well. And I'm going to hide all that. I'm going to enable the chair. Number 2. Now we need to replace the photograph. So here, chair number 2 replaced, and we can show the tree. Now as you can see, we have these copies. So we have these for the chair, and we can hide. We can hide our preview. Alright. Now the next thing we need to do is to place the chair that is here and also the tree. So I'm going to duplicate and also duplicate here. And now I'm going to hold down my Alt option and replace. And I'm going to open that. And I'm going to hide these cards and then show the cards for the chair 1. And I'm going to replace the photograph with chair 1. And I'm going to hide this very tree. We did not mask this chair for a purpose, because I want to show you another great feature we added for MotionVerse Pro V2, known as trace edges. So MotionVerse is going to extract these extra edges and isolate the chair. This is so important when it comes to extracting some complex objects like trees and other kinds of elements. So watch this here. We're going to toggle our modes, and I'm going to enable our FX. Now we're going to go back to our projection, and we're going to enable our FX here, and voila, it has extracted the chair. Trace edges works with different kinds of image color. And if you select setup here, you're going to see the trace edges. You can choose any color to extract. It doesn't matter the original color of the object. Trace edges will work. If you go into any of these programs here and select this settings yellow button, from here you can go to image. You can go to card, and you can now choose the channel for the trace edges. And you have the colors here. So how do you use it? You first extract your object and bring it in. And then after you have finished projecting the 3D cards, you can now use trace edges to remove the white color. And now we can make another copy. Duplicate, and duplicate here too. And then drag and replace. So this is going to be for the tree here. So the tree is tree number 1, and I'm going to isolate it. Now we go back to our projection and everything is ready. Oh, I'm going to disable trace edges. Okay. We're now going to add our cloud. So I'm going to place it here, VFX file, make it visible, and then look for the cloud layer. And I'm going to replace that. So here you can add VFX like cloud and mist and other kind of particle effects. So for the cloud, I'm just going to change from screen to normal. And I'm going to drag it, put it at the back. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I can change my auto orient towards the camera. So I'm going to use auto orient 2, like so. And I'm going to scale. Then also move the position. Just like so. And we can bring it down. And we can just check it out. Let's see. Oh, perfect. And we are done. Oh wait, realize something. We can adjust the camera a little bit more. So under tilt here, let's try -300. Okay, now we can run preview. And we have it here. Done. Looking great. And if you want, you can still go into any of the comps. Let's see the one with the right side. This one here, we can go in to fix the mask. This one right here. So we have our back. Then we have our right here. So we get our mask. I'm going to put it to none and just edit that a little bit. And I'm going to add just like so. Awesome. Now that we are done with this, you can do something fancy. You can add color grade and also you can add autofocus. So MotionVerse contains a multi autofocus. Let me give you an instance here. So we can go to a depth of field and we can enable for the scenes. Because if you want it to affect the objects here, 3D objects here, then you can use scene and main. So since we have our cloud here, we can include that like so. Here we go, like so. It affects also the cloud here. Now if we go in and we want to focus from here and then to the girl, we can use multi-focus. So we're going to go to info. This one is the last here. That is projection number 4. We can now select and just go into unsolo there and then select this button here. And we can go to our camera, depth of field, and it's enabled here, and we can select our target, which is layer number 9. So we have layer number 9 here. So this is our target. It is now focused here. Alright. And if we want to use the the multi-focus, we can now use two targets. And we can now show the girl like so. So it's moving. So to about 4 seconds. And then we have it here. We have our multi-targets here. So the first target is 9. So you're going to enter index number 9, layer number 9 here. And then the other one is layer number 4. Alright. And then we have our multi-autofocus here, the transition. So we can add keyframe from about let's do like 4 seconds here, and then on the 5th one we can now add 1. It's not going to move from this layer to that layer, we're just adding the value of 1. So if we're using 3 targets, then it becomes 2. You can add the number here and becomes 2. And look at how easy that is to autofocus using MotionVerse. I'm just going to just solo this, and we're going to do the same for the other layers. So I'm going to go to here, and we have 5 seconds. I'm going to select the button here and then go to camera, depth of field. We're going to select 2 targets, and here we can enter the same number, and that is number 9 and number 4. So 9 and number 4. And we can go to our transition here, autofocus, and we can add 1, add keyframe, and then go to the 4 second and then enter 0. So it moves back to this one here, and we can go to our other, we can actually just copy the settings here, just like so, and then we can go to our other tabs and we can select our button here, settings, and we can paste that. So let's make sure that we have our keyframe right. So double click that. It's gonna start from the beginning, so we just have to move to 4 seconds and then move our keyframes, just like so. And we can now do that for this one here. Select our button, right so, and we can replace the panel, and we can adjust our keyframe and move it to 4 seconds. Oops, just like so, and then I'm going to move it. And right here we have everything set up. Our autofocus is set up, and look at that. And it's going to focus on the girl. We have that here. So you can see that everything you will ever need to create professional 3D projection are all inside MotionVerse. And it took over a year for us to produce this update. And I hope you like what you're seeing here. So if you want to add color grade, it's very simple. Just select the animation button here and go to color grade. And enable that. So you have different features here. We're going to use the preset. So I'm going to use dynamic. Beautiful. We're going to move back and I'm going to just disable the depth of field. And now we have our color grade. We have the blue looking great and we have the green. And then we have the sun detail, the yellow here. That's the power of the presets we have. So I'm going to disable that. Look. You don't feel the sun. But look at that. And it looks much, much better. And I hope you like what you're seeing here. Please subscribe to this channel. And I encourage you, if you don't have MotionVerse yet, head to our website, get yourself a copy and start making professional 3D camera projection all inside After Effects without any third-party plugin, without using any 3D software. Everything you will ever need are all here in MotionVerse Pro. Thank you for watching.